Happy Halloween, everybody. I've finished watching the first film in my Halloween horror marathon. And obviously it's The Skull. And first I'd like to start out by saying that I know there's a lot of different definitions of horror, but mine is it has to have something to do with the supernatural as opposed to a thriller or a suspense film. And this film, The Skull, falls into that category easily. It stars the wonderful Peter Cushing, and it also features Christopher Lee. It was made by Amicus Studio, which was a rival of Hammer Studio, both British studios, and it is a movie of the occult, which always fascinates me. It's an interesting film. It's not a great film probably, but I find it very appealing. The cast is excellent. The story is based on a short story by Robert Bloch, the author of Psycho, and he also co-wrote the script with Milton Subotsky, who was the producer and co-founder of Amicus Films. It's made in 1965. It's a short film, only 83 minutes long. And it's basically about a person played by Peter Cushing who's fascinated by the occult, writes about the occult, collects occult objects, everything from books to artifacts that have something to do with the supernatural, the unexplained. And he is approached by a dealer in antiquities, played by Patrick Wymark, and he plays a character named Marco, who is basically a fence or a shady character dealing in objects like the skull featured in this film. The skull is the skull of the Marquis de Sade, and it is possessed by a demon, or so Marco tells Peter Cushing's character. Also in the film is Christopher Lee, who plays a rival collector in occult objects, friendly rival to Peter Cushing by the name of Sir Matthew Phillips. And it turns out that he had been the owner of the skull until it was stolen, and he does not want it back because he knows how evil it is. And the film basically follows Cushing's attempts to acquire the skull and the effects it has once it comes into his possession. It's not a frightening film, but it's very atmospheric. I love the occult underground kind of feel where there's this second world of people dealing in the unknown, in artifacts like this, studying it, exploring it, and walking that fine line where if they're not careful they can become victim to it. And so while, like I said, this isn't a great film, it's a very effective film, and the performances are wonderful. Christopher Lee part isn't very large, but Peter Cushing does a great job as Christopher Maitland, and really Patrick Wymark is really outstanding as the occult dealer Marco. There's also other faces you probably recognize. There's Patrick McGee as a police surgeon and Michael Goff as the auctioneer, just small parts. But all in all, it's a wonderful film. It's directed by Freddie Francis, who did Dracula Has Risen from the Grave and The Creeping Flesh. He's a director, cinematographer, British. And if you haven't seen this film, I can highly recommend it. It's worth checking out. Give it a try. I'll be back later after I've watched another film. Until then, happy Halloween. Take care.